Hey everybody, welcome to TIW Podcast. I'm Eric, and today I watched Doom Patrol Season 1, Episode 11, Francis Patrol. So I was mistaken. I misremembered what Larry Trainor's love interest's name is. His name is John. John something. I didn't write down his name. I don't know his last name. So I was wrong about this episode. It was about Larry Trainor and his love interest, but the title referred to Francis, an alligator or crocodile. Oh my god, why didn't I write down anything? It's either a crocodile or an alligator who ate Bob, who is Clara's adoptive father, who stepped in to take care of her when Cliff and his wife died. Well, the wife died. Cliff didn't, but they thought he did. But anyway, we have three storylines going on in this episode, as we usually do. But instead of having any flashbacks, we had we did have flashbacks, but they're actually dreams, and they were connecting Larry Trainor and John in the present, but they were dreams of the past. And so we end up with Larry Trainor going to see John at his home, where he's now an elderly old man, and they have some nice moments together. It was John's final moments, as it turned out, and that was really nice. And I like that story a lot. And I also really liked the Cliff story, because Cliff and Rita, they get transported by Flip, Jane's teleporting persona. And then she just gets the heck right back out of there. She's like, okay, bye. And then she gets Vic to go with her to meet this the wife of Flex. Flex is the guy who is missing from the comic book, but we'll get back to that in just a second. So Cliff and Rita are there at a bar where Clara works, and also where they're having a memorial service for Bob. And Cliff struggles with if he should actually tell her that she is her original dad, and it just seems more and more like nonsense to do that. But he's determined, because it was a watch that he won in a race, is one of her most prized possessions, that was eaten along with the rest of Bob. And so Cliff goes on a journey into the swamp, with Rita following behind in a little boat, to find Francis, the alligator or crocodile, whichever one it is. And he finally, when he's about to give up, the alligator appears and tries to eat him. But I'm imagining, we don't see it, but I imagine that Cliff just did get eaten, but then burst out of the alligator like a molting crab. Actually, they kind of slide right back out. I saw a video of that. I'm glad I did not see that video. Last week, the new comic book episode from last week, I talked about my trip to Alaska. So go listen to that. My whole talking about eating the crab leg and all that. I'm glad that I did not see this video of a crab molting before I had that crab. Actually, if I did see it before I had the crab leg, I would not have had any interest in trying that crab leg in the first place. I wouldn't have even ordered it. So maybe it would have been better if I had seen it before. But now, retroactively, it makes me more sick to think about eating that by just seeing a crab molting, shedding its shell and just squeezing it. Oh, that's gross. But not as gross as the last episode when we had hairball being eaten. Ugh. Let's not. Okay, moving on. He goes back to the bar, and Claire is about to come and take his order or whatever. and he decides, oh, well, maybe I'll just leave this here. He takes off, and she finds the watch, and maybe she realizes just who that robot man is. Meanwhile, over in the thing on the quest to find the wife of Flex, it turns out it was a trap to get Jane and Vic to look at their elbows, because they have like a paralytic flash event thing, mind control device on their shoulders, on their elbows. These people that come across them, posing. Two of them are posing as a couple that's fighting, which gets Jane's attention, and then the old lady, who is possibly posing as Flex's wife. I mean, they don't know what she looks like anyway, so maybe it was just a pure accident. But she is also in on the ruse. So Cyborg Jane avoids getting flashed by the elbow. What kind of sentence is that? But Vic is kidnapped, taken away, and we end the episode with him in a cell, tied to a chair, restrained. It's like straps and stuff, I think. It's not a rope. That sounds, because when you say somebody's tied to a chair, you imagine like a rope. You say they're duct taped to a chair. I guess if you do say someone's tied to a chair, it could. That's a catch-all, I guess, because they could be duct taped to it, or they could be strapped to it, and you still say that they're tied to a chair, because it's still accurate that they can't move, they're stuck there. But anyway, next episode is called Cyborg Patrol, so I have to imagine that it's all about them trying to get Cyborg back, find out where he is. I have a feeling they'll probably, with all the problems that Cyborg is having, the Cyborg part of him is growing inside, which might be a problem, and that's part of the whole all the stuff that's going on with him since the last episode with the hairball. Gross. Anyway, I have to imagine that they'll contact his father for help, particularly since he may have a way to track him, even though Vic has turned off all of the tracking and even the software itself, the grid software. So we'll see what happens in Cyborg Patrol. That's episode 12, and I'll talk about that either later today, or I'm well on track to. Now that I think about it, Wednesday is a big day for Survivor and Amazing Race, so maybe I will try to watch these last two episodes today or Wednesday during the day. So stay tuned for that. I did want to talk real quick. This show on HBO, it's a 5-part miniseries. 2 episodes have aired so far. It's called Chernobyl, and it's about the nuclear power plant explosion in 1986. Like just the hours and minutes after this, and the attempt to cover it up, and the cost of lying. What is the catchphrase of the thing? The cost of lies or something? What is the cost of lies? Anyway, this show is incredible. Do not. I think everybody should see it. It is not any fun to watch. It is not enjoyable in any way. It makes me feel awful in a way no other TV show or film has made me feel. There's this sense of terror and worry, and I'm getting it's coming back just talking about it. And I mean, I watched the second episode, like 12 hours ago or something. But, man, this show is remarkable. And, Jared Harris is, one of the leads. He's a scientist. Well, is he scientist? He's trying to get a handle on what's going on, along with a whole bunch of other people, and convince the government that they have to do things differently than they initially try to do. Anyway, just go watch it. Any attempts to explain what's going on, like, it's a real thing that happens, and they're presenting it in a way that is, I've never even thought about. That I've learned about this in school, and I've heard about it, all that kind of thing, but none of that comes even close to, like, making me think about just how awful of a disaster it was, and how much worse it could have been, because they're still handling, and they're talking about the possibilities. Like, it doesn't take away, like, oh my God, like, how, I hope that doesn't happen. We know that the worst of the worst didn't happen, that they were able to do to contain it somewhat, because they're like talking about how it could destroy their entire continent, kill everything, and we know that it didn't kill the entire continent, but it did have devastating effects. And anyway, there's a scene in the second episode. They realize there's this one other scientist who comes in and says, your estimates are wrong. We only have like 48 hours before this thing explodes. And the only way that we can prevent that is to drain out all of these water tanks, to prolong, give us enough time to reinforce, like, the ground. I'm not getting any of the details correct, I don't think, at all. But they need 3 workers from the power plant to go in there and to access these tanks, to drain them out. And they're in this room. They're being talked to by the official and and Jared Harris, and they're he says, like, oh, you'll get this bonus, all this, and he's not mentioning the fact that they will absolutely die from going down there. And the workers are like, you can't even mention that. We know what's going on. We know that the radiation that we'd get from that would kill us. We're not stupid. And so the one guy, the one government guy, I should actually write down and learn the people's names. He gives us, he just tells them, like, the incentive is that it has to be done or millions of people will die. And like, that's it basically. And three guys volunteer. That's what they need. And so they go down there to get it done. The second episode ends on this cliffhanger of their lights going out. Well, the Geiger counter is just off the charts, going crazy. And it ends, like, the whole episode, even without that horror film ending, was just filled with dread. And man, I can't recommend this show enough. I know so what? I told you the cliffhanger for the second episode. It's a real event that happened. You can look it up and see and find out what happens in the entire miniseries. But I recommend just watching it because it's really incredibly well done, and it's unlike anything I've seen. like I said. So anyway, that's it for the real Doom Patrol out there. Let me know what you thought about this episode and what you think about Chernobyl, the TV series, by tweeting me at TIW Podcast. Go to TIWpodcast.com for more reviews. If you enjoyed this episode or anything else on the site, please share some links with your friends. Subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you like to listen. And I'll be back real soon with more here on TIW Podcast. Stay safe out there, super friends, in all of the infinite multiverses. Bye.